My beloved child, please don't scroll. Destiny has been guiding you to this point, and I have purposefully brought you here. This is the culmination of everything you have gone through, including every delay, covert conflict, and silent prayer. Don't take this lightly, and don't listen to half of what is being said. Stay with me to the very end, because what I'm going to reveal will put into words what your spirit has been feeling for a very long time. You might miss the affirmation you've been silently seeking if you leave too soon. Pay close attention. Let these words have a profound impact. You will see by the conclusion of this message why it was vital to wait, and why departing now would be a betrayal of the very moment you were meant to arrive. Please take a moment to stop and breathe with me, my little kid. Allow the sounds to subside. Let striving release its hold, because what I'm going to say is not hurried or coincidental. You're here at last, at a place of becoming, not only at a moment in time. You didn't just happen to be in this situation. You didn't just happen across it. Even when you believed you were walking alone, I was by your side every invisible step of the way to this point. On certain days, you felt like you were just getting by, moving forward, and wondering why the path seemed so long and the solution so slow. However, your journey did not finish with survival. Survival was a hallway that brought you to your destination. I saw you go through seasons when hope felt brittle and thin, evenings when your heart was heavy with questions you couldn't answer, and mornings when rising felt like an act of bravery. You believed you were falling behind. You believed that you were lost. But now I tell you, you were being guided with the assurance and love of a parent. You were honed by each delay. You were routed by each closed door. Your heart grew softer with each tear, allowing you to know this moment when it arrived. You stayed when it hurt, which is why you are here. Because when there was no clarity, you trusted. Because of the silent conviction that there must be more than what you can see that persisted deep within you. Long ago, I ingrained that conviction in you, which helped you move forward even when your intellect was unable to comprehend the way. Now pay great attention, my kid, for sometimes arriving does not feel like you expected it would. Sometimes it comes with a profound silence and a feeling in your soul that says, "This is it," rather than thunder or festivities. I was supposed to stand here. You are experiencing that right now. Because it contains history, this moment is significant. Your past. Every decision you made to keep going. All of it has come together here. Every time you muttered my name rather than giving up in despair, every time you chose faith over resentment. You are not at the limit of your abilities. As of right now, alignment is just getting started. I didn't bring you here just to leave you here. You're ready to see what all those hidden seasons were leading up to, which is why I brought you here. You are here because your spirit has been fortified. Your eyes have been schooled to see what is important, and your heart has been molded. This isn't a coincidence. The culmination is this. At this point, the path behind you begins to make sense, because its purpose is made clear, not because the anguish goes away. My child, you have stepped beyond an invisible boundary. The thing that was supposed to come to you is no longer being pursued. What I already knew is no longer being proven by you. Here you are. And since it is characterized by tenacity, faith, and unwavering love, the location where you stand is sacred. I want you to grasp something profound while you stand here, something that will comfort you as we proceed together. Rivalry does not imply that the path was simple or that it is over. It indicates that the journey has had an impact on you. You have changed since you started down this route. The fear that used to control you is no longer in charge. Once shouting doubts now murmurs. The scars that formerly characterized you no longer have the last say. I see the strength you unknowingly acquire, the wisdom that silently blossomed within you as you concentrated on just getting by. You didn't come with nothing. You brought with you fortitude, wisdom, and a level of empathy that comes only from experience. Applause is not appropriate at this time. It has to do with being prepared. It's about being in a position where your soul can at last declare, "I am ready to receive what I once could only hope for." And since you succeeded, I am here with you right now as your father, not as a detached onlooker, gently, firmly, and tenderly. You remained. Even though it felt expensive, you trusted me. And I want you to keep this truth in mind as we move forward together. You were destined to be here, and there is no doubt that nothing, not even a delay or a detour, could halt what I have been guiding you toward the entire time. Now, my dear child, allow me to speak to you sternly but softly, because what I am going to tell you will make you feel better. You've had patience from destiny. When you feel like you are lagging behind, be patient. When you feel like time is passing you by, be patient. Be patient when you feel the pain of being late and contrast your journey to others. Hear me out. You were never hurried or left behind by destiny. I waited while listening to music. I observed. While you wrestled noisily, it operated silently. There were times when you questioned me why things seemed to be stagnating while others were moving forward, begged for change, and begged for movement. However, the delay you described was intentional. Shape was what you referred to as slowness. Beneath the surface, what you referred to as quiet was instruction. Unlike the world, destiny is not impatient. It doesn't freak out. It doesn't move quickly. Before your hands are powerful enough to support the weights on the opposite side, it does not push open doors. Your spirit needed weight, your faith required roots, and your heart needed depth, so I gave yourself permission to stretch. You would have arrived early but empty if I had hurried you. On the contrary, you are coming with power you were unaware you had, humility and discernment. Because it loves you too much to meet you before you were ready, destiny waited. And I understand how hard that patience was, my kid. I watched the annoyance seep into your bones. You didn't speak the questions aloud, but I heard them. Why not right now? Why not me? Why does it feel like I'm standing still and everyone else is moving? However, you were constantly moving. You were music growing steadier, more grounded and more unwavering. Heaven respects preparedness, while the world glorifies speed. Quick breezes are praised by the world, but I create enduring callings. Your punishment was not postponed by destiny. In order to safeguard what was developing inside of you, it postponed. Layers of wisdom, compassion, and authority that can only be gained with perseverance were added with each extra year, prolonged season, and unanswered request. You have to witness disappointment without harboring resentment. You have to navigate obscurity while maintaining your individuality. You have to wait without allowing hope to turn into bitterness. And you accomplished it faithfully, though not flawlessly. Destiny saw your decision to prioritize trust over control, patience over fear, and progress over escape. It waited for that reason. It was aware that you would be different from how you started. Now that fate is finally working in your favor, I want you to let go of the guilt you felt for not being there sooner. You are not the owner of that humiliation. You never had it to carry. You're not running late. You're in agreement. You're not in the rear. You're in position. This version of you, not the previous one, is needed for what is currently happening. Your hands have grown stronger. You can now see more clearly with your eyes. Your current heart may guide the future without becoming less of itself. There was no absence in Destiny's patience. It was love. As you learnt to stay with me, it remained with you. It waited as you discovered trust in the invisible, obedience in the quiet, and resiliency in the everyday. And now that it has waited, you won't be overwhelmed by what comes. It will identify you. You'll know that you're welcome here. It arrived at the appropriate moment, not because it happened fast. It is necessary to speak this truth gently, thoughtfully, and profoundly into your spirit. So come closer, my darling. There was no point in waiting. Not a single tear, prayer, or restless night passed by without my noticing. I marked the waiting by transformation, whereas you measured it by calendars, birthdays, and lost opportunities. Nothing was apparent, so you assumed nothing was going on. However, the most significant job I undertake is nearly always initially unseen. Before trees emerge into the light, their roots must first grow in the dark. Before muscles exhibit power, they must first be strengthened through resistance. Before faith may speak authoritatively, it must mature in quiet. I worked in you, through you, and all around you as you waited. I was taking away what might later have undermined you. I was mending wounds you had no idea would come up again. I was teaching you to listen to my voice without using background noise, to have faith in my presence without asking for evidence. The time spent waiting wasn't wasted. Holy hour was upon us. It was a hallowed place where your character was being tenderly, purposefully, and silently formed by. I am aware of how frequently you looked back on those seasons and questioned whether you could have done more, moved more quickly, or put up more effort. But now pay attention to me. Waiting would not have been substituted by striving, and the necessary surrender would not have been expedited by effort. There are some things you can only learn when nothing else is going on. Only when you are compelled to wait and remain still can you develop some strength. You discovered how to endure discomfort while sitting instead of running. You discovered how to pray without receiving a response right away. When disappointment attempted to harden your heart, you learned how to keep it soft. That time is not squandered. It's an uncommon formation. Because they don't have to wait, many people arrive swiftly and disintegrate equally quickly. However, you remained. You put up with the protracted stillness, the unresolved queries, and the lengthy pauses. You discovered how to believe in promises despite living without assurances. It is impossible to teach that kind of faith while moving. Only in waiting is it forged. You are now carrying something that cannot be taken away from you as a result. An inner steadiness, a spiritual burden, a quiet assurance that survives without praise. So that you don't misunderstand, let me now demonstrate what is going to occur. To some, what follows will seem abrupt, but to you, it won't. It will seem familiar, as though you have encountered it in prayer before ever touching it. In actuality, the waiting helped you become fearless in identifying what is rightfully yours. You learned patience, perspective, and tranquility via waiting, so you won't rush this next season or cling to it with anxiety. Rather of worshipping what comes, you will steward it. Rather than holding it in white-knuckled terror, you will hold it with open hands. The waiting was important because of this. It was lengthy because of this. It stung because of this. Because you will now be able to walk through doors completely when they open. Not frantic, grounded, envious, self-assured, or perplexed. My beloved child, the wait was not in vain. The investment was made, and the comeback is just around the corner. Let me answer the question you have been carrying in silence, my dear child. The one you hardly ever said aloud because even thinking about it felt risky. Do you think I'm punishing you? You questioned whether the wait, resistance, and many setbacks were a silent judgment against you. You replayed talks, reviewed choices, and looked back at your past to see where you went wrong. And you still placed the blame on yourself when you were unable to come up with a definitive solution. This truth must destroy a deception that has persisted for far too long. Hear me now, slowly and clearly. There was never any punishment for you. They were getting ready for you. Comfort was never able to prepare them. My appeal for you to take charge of your destiny has been heard, and comprehend this. Being a banker for my kingdom is a part of your noble vocation. In order for you to be a blessing, I have blessed you. And sharing my message with the heartbroken who are begging for an answer is the greatest task there is. Today, join us in this effort. Use the PayPal link in the description or your Super Thanks membership to become the wind beneath their wings. By strengthening the voice that speaks to them, you have the chance to preach to countries you might never travel to. As you donate, I command the windows of heaven to open over your finances, releasing a measure that is shaken together, pressed down, and poured over. When it comes to giving, don't hesitate. Start the cycle of extraordinary prosperity in your life by sowing your seed right now. Don't let this word fade into thin air, my child. Now anchor it with your consent. To be realized, faith must be liberated. Therefore, I'm calling on you to make a commitment right now. If you firmly feel that your time of waiting is over and that you have finally arrived, openly state it in the space provided below. Today, I'm taking a step toward my destiny. Remember that when you type these words, you are signing a decree that heaven is ready to enforce, not just a comment. Amen.